I ran here with this tweet. So
this right here is the type of content that we need better moderation for. This whole thing comes off of scammy. So I ran here as soon as I saw this video, and I'll explain to you why. So you can go watch her video to see what she's talking about, and it's going to sound like it makes sense, but it's a grift, and I'm going to explain to you why. In addition, I reviewed the rest of her channel, and she comes off as one of those wannabe influencer channels that is preying on those that are desperate for answers, and she's got the answer for you if you just pay the right price. So she is trying to sell something to you. And something you need about sales is that in marketing something to someone, having a little bit of truth tucked here and there makes it easier to sell content to you. So before I jump into that, I do want to give credit to where she was right or where I thought she was right. So I can agree that college is really not the path anymore, and it's not really affordable. Was college a path? I think for a short period of time it was. It was a way to get your bachelor's degree and get into a good paying job. But those days are gone. A lot of what she said stood out to me as being older talking points that previous generations have said that are outdated, and she's taken those and repackaged them for a modern audience, is what she's done. A lot of them are. Something else that stuck out to me was her solicitation for a free copy of her book once she gets to a point where that's out by just helping her with research. That comes off as one of those things where if you help me, I'll give you free tickets to one of my sessions, my administrative sessions, or one of my training sessions. So that was kind of a flag for me as well. So let's jump in. I've got a lot of notes that I took, and I want to make sure that I get everything in here and convey it as clearly as I can for what I felt when I saw this video, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. But she starts off by quoting a Wall Street Journal tweet, which provides some truth, but little context. It doesn't give us enough. And then she immediately jumps to an NCSE study about the cost of going to college to get a degree. Okay, what NCSE study? They have multiple. The $36,000 number is a bit fudged. I could not source that anywhere within their studies. Again, they have at least 3 studies that all talk about the cost of college. At least 3. So I'm curious which study she's referring to. And each of those studies differs on circumstances for how you're going to college. And the numbers are all over the place. Based on my own research about the cost of going to college and getting a degree, specifically for IT, the average cost is between $60,000 to $80,000, not the $200,000 to $500,000 she's talking about. So that number is way inflated. And my basis was off of you're going to a 4-year college, community or otherwise, and you're not paying for room and board at that college. So her numbers are hyperinflated and to scare you. As much as I would like to say that lost wages because of going to school can be lumped in, it cannot. That is not a cost of college. It doesn't work that way. That is a weird way of putting things in to sell you a product about how expensive college actually is. It is not. We cannot equate lost wages to the cost of college. It does not count. It doesn't make any sense to do that. Now, another point I can agree with her on is that it is not worth it to get a degree anymore. And I completely agree. It is not. To spend $60,000 to $80,000 to get a degree, to get a job that's going to pay you $18 to $24 an hour, yeah, that's not worth it. Where am I pulling my $18 to $24 hour dollar amounts from? Look at any job. I'm going to use Colorado, but you can jump to any state and look at the average pay ranges for jobs that want you to have a bachelor's degree. There are a few that pay higher in ranges, but the averages I'm seeing are 18 to 24. Now in Colorado, the minimum wage here is $13.65, so 18 an hour sounds like a deal. It's not though. And so going into debt, $60,000 to $80,000 to make 18 to 24 an hour is not worth it. Now, she goes on to sell this to normal parents, saying this is going to be a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, that college is not the option anymore. In my experience, the only people that would be surprised by this and it'd be a hard pill to swallow are, the older generation and people that have had degrees already within the last 10 to 15 years. Like I'm talking the last 2 generations of people. So, like my parents and my grandparents, I have this conversation with my mom and she doesn't believe me that she's like, college is worth it. You should go to college. It's like, it's not worth it anymore. The jobs don't pay as well and I can't go into debt doing that. And then like grandparent generation. The younger people I've encountered are people that have already had their degrees. Again, like 10 to 15 years ago, they got their degree and they happen to get in a pretty decent position. And luckily they haven't been laid off. But anybody that's got a bachelor's degree and has been laid off will tell you that it's not the sweet deal it used to be. She then goes on to say that you can purchase education anywhere. Sure, you can, but not usable. Most companies are going to require you, most jobs anywhere, are going to require you to have education that is backed by an institution. That's generally not an optional. It's not going to work the way. And contrary to what she says, higher education is inaccessible. If you can't afford it, you're not getting it. I can't just take one of these courses. She's not accredited to give college education. So I can't go buy her course and then be accredited with a college degree. It doesn't work that way. And if she's telling you that or implying that, that's false. But she's not going to give me an education that's going to suddenly get me a job. She's nobody. She's got followers on TikTok, but in that, she's nobody. She is not going to give you or your children the education they're going to need to succeed. Now, she wants to keep you hooked into this, so she loops you back around with some truth that colleges are just greedy corporations, which, hey, I agree. Nothing wrong there. But it doesn't change the fact that you still have to go to them to get an education, a formal education that a business is going to accept. So, yes, there's part truth in that, but there's more to it than just that. And then we get started in the 5 things you need to do better than a college grad, because apparently to her it's easy to out-earn a college grad. Hopefully I've got enough time to go each of these 5 with you. If not, there will be a part 2. Hopefully not. First, she starts with get a job, any job. Boy, does that ring of just work hard that the boomers used to say. Repackaged for this generation, of course. She says get literally any job. She also says college is not a traditional path. Again, I agree with that. It's not. I think for a short time it was a path to success, but it's not. Just working is also not a viable path anymore. There is no education in work, not meaningful education. If that was the case, then at least 90% of McDonald's workers would be thriving right now, and they're not. Working a normal job is not a path to success. Your chances for a promotion are non-existent. Talk to anybody who's worked at Walmart, McDonald's, or any place, a common job, those are common jobs, and ask them when the last pay raise they got was, when their promotion was. Far and few between. And also, working isn't going to cut it anymore. With wages slipping and the cost of living increasing, that's not a path for success. Again, if working was a path for a lot of people to make and thrive and do well, a lot less people will be having problems right now, and we obviously know that's not the case. Number 2, the old get on-the-job training or get an apprenticeship. Okay, most companies these days do not want to train anybody. They expect you to come in fully trained and accept low pay. And apprenticeships, those are limited. Yes, apprenticeships are still out there, but for the fields that are available, those are not highly desirable jobs people want. And if the ongoing is then, well, it's better than nothing and better than college and cheaper, if you have to sacrifice happiness just to make a buck, that's not solving the problem. You're just pushing the problem to another side. See, when apprenticeships come up, you have fields like HVAC, plumbing. Yes, I know there's pharmacy stuff, and there's construction. Those jobs are generally very rough to do. Not everybody can do them. So it's not something that's completely viable. Number 3, earn a license or cert. Okay, going back to the other portion, we're going to start with the certification portion here. Without a bachelor's degree, it's going to be very hard for anybody to trust you with the cert. I know. I had an A+ cert. Do you know how many businesses were like, oh my God, you've got your A+, come work for us? Their question was always, see, you got your A+, where's your bachelor's? That's going to be the problem for a lot of people. And then she says, earn a license. Well, most of the licensing and certs you need to get, generally most people can't just walk into those, and they can't just study from a book. It's almost like they need a course to help them understand the material so they become professionals. So when they work the job, they know what they're doing. And prior to that, so they can actually have enough knowledge to pass the certification. And if you guys don't know, certifications can be exceptionally expensive. Go look into the cost for a pilot's license to get your pilot's license, or go look into the cost. You want to be an IT professional, go look into the cost to take the 4 MSCE certifications, how much that costs, and you'll see why that's not a thing. In that, talking about pilots, is that really your best advice? Pilots, weren't they just on strike for low pay? Yeah, don't think this path is going to be very beneficial. 4, build or buy a business. Yeah, more repackaged boomer advice, and this is more of the grifting advice we see all around the internet. Businesses are expensive and they're not easy to run. Okay? It costs money to do that. If this was easy to do, then a lot more minimum wage workers would be in mergers and acquisitions. They're not. Additionally, I'm pretty sure in the businesses she's going to list, drop shipping's in there somewhere. I got to do a part 2, guys. Very sorry.